Hello, welcome everyone to our next episode of Real Talk, and we are excited to be back again and talking to some brothers again, which is great. So I'm going to let Jen introduce our guest today.
Right on. Thanks, Leanne, and welcome back, everybody. Yes, we have two brothers today that we're chatting with from Thunder Bay, Josh and Jon. Now, forgive me if I say it wrong. Buosi?
Buosi.
Buosi. Okay, my apologies. Josh and Jon Buosi, who are brothers in Thunder Bay. Steff and I connected with Josh probably 10 years ago, maybe even longer by now, in an entirely different way and in an entirely different context. And then we kind of went our separate ways and life kind of took over for a while. And I was so excited to reconnect about 6 months ago or so through Facebook, which is always a great platform to kind of reconnect, and saw that Josh was into real estate investing with his brother. So welcome, guys. And I'm dying to hear what happened to get you where you are now, because I know the last time we spoke, Josh, which was probably 8 or 9 years ago, you were most certainly not in a real estate type field. So welcome. And why don't you kind of give us a little bit about where you came from and how you found your way into this kind of setup?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having us, guys. Excited to be on. Like you said, Jen, it's been a long time and lots has changed since the last time we chatted.
Mm-hmm.
So when we saw each other last, I think I was still in school or maybe finishing it. So I got my university degree in geology and went and started working in mining.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of quickly realized that it maybe wasn't for me. I had to work out of town for it, and I enjoyed some of the work, but I really didn't like the lifestyle of working out of town.
Yep.
So I did that for a while. I ended up working in mining for 7 years total. But it was only, it was probably only 1 or 2 years in where I was like, I'm not doing this forever. Like I got to find a way out of this and figure out something else that's going to give me the lifestyle I want. So I started off kind of just, thankfully working in mining, I made a good salary and was able to kind of put money away and start to get myself set up. And I, bought my first property, kind of started to get into it. And then, 5 years down the road now, I wanted to kind of find a way out a little quicker. And got excited, got into the real estate investing, and then ended up getting my real estate license during COVID.
Yep.
And as a way to get me out quicker than accumulating all the rental properties you need to live off of. So I got my real estate license, and then I just quit my full-time career in mining in December.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's exciting times.
It really is. And it's amazing because you're not very old to have figured that out. Like, I only wish we could go back and do that piece differently, right? And just imagine where we would be kind of on that cusp of turning 30, and you've got so much coming, that it's going to be wonderful. And that's the great thing about investing. And we've all had those conversations, right? Unhappy careers, jobs that we loved when we started, but maybe turned into something that wasn't what we wanted long term, and priorities change and all of those kinds of things. So great for you.
Yeah.
What about you, Jon? What's your background?
Yeah, so I came out of high school, kind of had a couple options and decided to do the same route. I went to college, got my diploma, started university, wasn't for me. Found a good job working out of town in construction, but again, same thing. Didn't like the out of town lifestyle. I've been able to transfer to an in-town role, which has been the saving grace, really. So still doing that. So I look after site coordination and project managing, estimating for a commercial industrial contractor. And so that's given me the skills to kind of work our way into the renovation world, that kind of thing. And yeah, up and up from here. But same thing. It was the out of town lifestyle that pushed me into a different direction of wanting to find something else.
Awesome. And you guys, for what you do and kind of what you bring to the table, it's very complimentary. You know what I mean? And it's really full circle, and you cover all your bases with what the two of you bring as a skill set, which I think is super important. And we've had that conversation with Mike and Leanne repeatedly, right? Is that not everybody can be a forward, not everybody can be a defenseman. Like, your team needs different people that do different jobs, and you guys are really, it seems like you're really good at different things, which creates the balance.
For sure. Yeah. And it's been good too, because I had experience with project management. That's kind of what I did in mining too. So I kind of understand his side of the business. Like, the way we're kind of setting up our business is basically that I'm our acquisitions manager, being, you know, the realtor, right? So then I go out, find the deals and find the investors, and then kind of hand things off to him to manage the project. But it's helpful that I've got a bit of that project management experience too, to kind of help out with his side, since he's still, you know, working his full-time job.
Exactly. Josh can look after things from 9 to 5, and then I take over after that. So we make a good team right now.
That's so great.
So what does your investing look like? Like, what type of markets are you doing? Are you doing, you know, short-term rentals, you know, long-term rentals, like, you know, flips? What are you doing?
Yeah. So right now, we have between the two of us, we have 4 small multifamilies, so 3 duplexes and a triplex in Thunder Bay. All of them are long-term rentals. We haven't gotten into the short-term rentals yet. It's something we've been kind of considering now that we didn't really. I've looked at the Airbnbs. I have my girlfriend actually has one, and my our parents have one as well, and they're interesting. But we kind of didn't want to. We liked the, you know, low hours that you put in as a, you know, a long-term investor, as opposed to all of the hours you have to put in managing a short-term rental. But recently we've actually had more, you know, like cleaning companies that'll do an Airbnb for you in Thunder Bay. And now we actually have a property manager that will also manage your short-term rental for you in Thunder Bay. So now that you can set it up as a bit more passive, it's something that we're looking into to have that kind of taken over. But when it first started happening here, I was kind of, you know, not really interested in having to deal with messaging Airbnb guests all the time, and you know, doing cleaning myself or things like that.
We got some good firsthand experience from our parents.
Oh, I bet.
The hours they put in, so it kind of turned us away from that. And Josh started with, you know, house hacking with his first place. So it was just kind of a natural progression to stay in the long-term rental field right now.
Yeah. And
yeah,
you know,
all of our properties are, we're really into doing like renovations and stuff. Like, all of our properties have kind of been a fairly major renovation project. So we're pretty much all doing the BRRRR strategy on small multifamilies in Thunder Bay.
Oh, and you're saving so much money doing your own stuff. Like, I'm so excited for you, because I know what renos are worth, and I know what we pay contractors, and I'm like, imagine if we could do that ourselves. Like,
and that's the main transition we're in right now, is like, we did our first 2 major projects mostly ourselves, you know, like hiring out things like plumbing, electrical and stuff that we weren't as good at. But now we're in the process of building up our contractor teams to be hiring everything out, just because, you know, when you're trying to do everything yourself, like, it takes too long, right? Like, you got to kind of focus on what you're good at and what you're doing. And so we'd rather be managing contractors and managing projects as opposed to doing all the work ourselves, just because, you know, I'm trying to focus on being a realtor, which, as you know, Jen, is quite a busy task.
Oh yeah. No, you got lots of balls in the air for sure.
Yeah. And then, you know, John's still working full time. It's hard to be getting our hands dirty that often and keeping a project moving on time. So
yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Sorry, I was just going to say, and to be able to scale and grow, you need to, and it's so funny because we were just talking about this before you guys joined us, was to be able to grow and scale and make your portfolio bigger and better and more stable. And you need to be a little bit hands off. Like, that control part, it tends to consume you and consume your time and consume your headspace. And for us, we've been hands off right from the beginning. We've never managed our own stuff. Steff will sometimes project manage, depending on if it's in town or like how big it is or that kind of stuff. But now we're so focused on other markets where there's better price points and better cash flow. And once we became super comfortable with the idea of somebody else taking care of our stuff, all of a sudden it was like, you know, and it was like, oh my gosh, we can go anywhere. Like we can literally go anywhere in the world, because what does it matter whether the building is 10 minutes away if we're not taking care of it, or like 10 hours away?
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And that's where we're at. It took us a while to get our first few projects done, and you just get burnt out when you're working your full-time job, then going to the property after hours and working till 10 and eating late dinners. You burn out quick. So
cheeseburgers in a beat up living room with no walls and cold cups of coffee. We've been there, right?
A busy 8 or 9 hour, 10-hour workday, and then going to chuck hammers around at a renovation project for another few hours after.
I think we've all lived that life, honestly. Like, and I know we've eaten cold cheeseburgers and drank cold coffee more evenings than I could count. And you know what? When the kids were younger, they were with us, right? Yeah. So it was Happy Meals in the corner where they could kind of occupy themselves, and we had the hammers and all that stuff going too. But such great experience though, right? Because now you also know what you're looking for in terms of quality of work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's even really helped me, like starting out as a realtor. You know, it's really hard for most people starting out as a realtor if they don't have that same kind of experience, like to kind of differentiate yourself from other people. But like me, you know, I walk through a house with a client. I've only been a realtor for about a year now, but full time for 6 months. But like I can walk through a house and notice all the things that are wrong with a house, and walk through and be like, yeah, it'll cost you about this much to renovate this, or you know, you could do this, or you know, this isn't that big of a problem. Like, don't be scared away by this. Like, I have a contractor that we can get in and fix this for you. Like, you know.
No, and it creates a lot of value for people that are buying houses that don't know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So, what do you think is you know, the biggest hurdle, or you know, the biggest roadblock that you guys have encountered you know, so far?
I mean, there's big so far, like, especially when you're starting out, right? Like you hit big hurdles and roadblocks on every project, especially like we buy a lot of old houses. So you run into a lot of surprises. We're running into some with our current project right now, but
yeah, especially the area we're working in, we're focusing near the downtown area of Thunder Bay for the long-term growth. But
a lot of 100-year-old houses.
You see a lot of old,
you know, I can just imagine.
Yeah, and it's like what we've done too is add units, and so it's a lot more difficult to create those fire separations and everything in an old house. Whereas if you have a 60s, 70s bungalow, it's pretty easy,
simple,
to do that. So there's been a lot of big hurdles over the projects, and we've just we've tried to be open and honest with the city through permitting, and people usually help you figure it out, and it's just a problem you just got to get over. At the end of the day, there's more problems around the corner. So.
Yeah, I think the biggest hurdle we're working on right now is just like really building up our contractor team. It's tough to find those really good contractors that are also really suited to working with an investor, right? Because you can find the contractors that do really good quality work, but they're booked 6 months out, or they're so higher priced that it kind of takes any of the money out of the deal left for you. But they do great quality work, and they're great for the average homeowner who wants a beautiful kitchen or a beautiful bathroom. But then you've also got the contractors that are more affordable and more available, but then there's sometimes issues with quality of work. So you kind of got to find that balance and find the ones that are really...
It's a dance for sure. And I think that quality tradespeople is an issue in every market, right? Yeah. And like most of us, right? We're okay paying for service and we're okay paying for quality, but not to the point where it's pulling money off the table from the deal. And usually the guys that know what they're doing in your market, especially in Northern Ontario, right? There's not a lot of people up here. It's not like dealing in Southern Ontario where you have 50 guys you could call, right? In the North, it's a smaller pool to pick from. So, and the guys that are good are booked 6 months, sometimes a year, right? I know even working with sellers that want to do some repair before they list, or buyers that want some some quick little shine ups as they're kind of moving in. It's like we usually can't time it. So the contractor matches with the timelines that they're looking for because everybody here is booked. And I'm sure it's the same in the Sioux.
Yeah. Well, and we'll even hear, from a lot of investors, from job A to job B, you don't know, you'll get the same contractor, but, because based on their crews, some of these contractors have 2 or 3 crews, and hey, last time we got crew A and it was fantastic. This time I think we got crew D, and it's, 2, 3 jobs. It was fantastic. And then, you call them up and, again, as they're growing their business and, in their team, if you get, the new crew, or if you get, the crew that is having a bad day, again, you could have 2 or 3 quality jobs, and job number 3 is subpar. So it's a challenge, even if you do have some good contacts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
What is the one piece of information you wish to share you had 10 years ago?
I would say, one thing that I kind of think about and laugh about is just...
It doesn't have to be a whole 10 years, because I know you guys are pretty young.
Yeah.
So you can even go 5 years ago.
Answers to your grade 12 exam.
Exactly. Yeah. I would say, a funny thing that I kind of think about a lot, I guess that, university isn't always the best path.
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot of, good advice from people growing up, go to university, get a good job, all that kind of stuff. And that's great for a lot of people. And it is really good advice. It just didn't end up working out for us. And it's just kind of funny, back in university, I worked a commission sales job for a good few years at actually Future Shop at the time. And back in the day, I would get advice from my bosses at the time, why are you going to university? You're really good at sales. Why not just get into sales? You'll make more money. And I was no, I got to finish university, get my good university job. And then here I am 7 years later, quitting my university job to get back into sales. Yeah. And it's kind of where would I have been as a realtor now if I started as a realtor 7 years ago instead of starting out now?
Oh, don't know where Mike and Leanne went. I bet they'll join us as soon as they get. I know they're camping this weekend, so they're somewhere just outside of the Sioux. So their Wi-Fi kind of jumps back and forth.
Yeah,
we've never been booted out before like that, but I'm sure they'll find their way back to us.
Just another challenge of podcasting,
right?
Yeah, exactly,
for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. And you know what? I think you guys are doing such great work. You seem so complimentary to each other, and it feels like you're a really great fit. And I still I said to Steff the other night, I'm so excited to see Josh just because we haven't talked in so long.
Yeah.
And it's we're connecting in an entirely different level.
Yeah.
And I think that I love it. I think that's such a neat way of life surprising us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No kidding.
On the complimentary note, just wait till our little brother finishes his carpentry ticket.
Oh, no kidding. There's another one?
Yeah.
Why did I think there was only 2 of you guys?
Yeah. Our youngest brother is doing his carpentry apprenticeship right now.
Oh, how amazing. Well, no, and you know what? We've got such great momentum right now that our kids are Mom, is this a thing that we could do? And I went, absolutely. And again, we have the conversation with them about post-secondary. And if it's a fit for what you want to do, then that's great. And we'll support you and we'll encourage you and we'll help you. And we'll do all those things that parents are supposed to do. But if you find out that it's not for you, please don't ever think that you need to stick with something to make us happy or to make society happy. I think it's ridiculous that at 17, you have to choose what you think you want to do for the rest of your life and pay $25,000 a year to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
I wasn't qualified to decide what I was going to do for the rest of my life when I was 18.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody is. Yeah. And they came home. There you are.
Right. We're having technical difficulties.
That's okay.
We're at our trailer. We're camping.
Yeah. No, that's okay. We were just kind of having a conversation about university and how it's, every society seems to kind of push that whole post-secondary piece. And for some kids, it's just not a fit, and it's totally possible to be successful without it. And And I think that we should save that for like a podcast episode in itself.
Yeah.
Just about because we tell the kids all the time, you know what? If you have a passion, if you have something amazing that you want to do and a university degree is going to get you there, then do this. But we're going to teach you how to do the real estate piece on the side.
Yeah, for sure. It's like lots of people, I know me, like, you know, you gotta, a university degree is great, but like have a plan for what you're going to do with that degree. You know what I mean? Like, no, you're getting that degree because you want to do some certain thing.
Yep.
Not just like get a degree and then I'll be like, well, I got this degree and I'm going to do this, I guess.
Yep.
Like, you know,
And it should get me a job, you know.
Yeah, maybe depending on what the economy's doing and where I want to live and all of that kind of stuff. No, you're absolutely right. And all of that's fine and good. I'm still going to teach the kids how to do investing on the side.
for sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy with my decision to go to college and the route that I took, because it's landed me a job that I do enjoy. It burns me out, but it is rewarding seeing projects come to a close. And at the end of the day, it's given me the skills and the contacts to build up our renovation business as is.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and without going to post-secondary, I don't know that I would have found this path, you know. So it's been a valuable experience, whether it was worth the dollars at the end of the day or not.
Same with me. I mean, like, no regrets. Like, you know, working in mining that brought me there, got me the startup capital I needed to buy my first 2 houses. You know, bought my first house at 24. That was a duplex. Bought another one at 27, I think, or 26. Bought a threeplex. Like, it working that job that I really didn't like and wanted to get out of is what forced me to work really hard to figure this out, right? And who knows if I had done something different, if I would have ended up at the same place. So
same with me too.
Everybody's story, right? I think that's everybody's story, that it's trying to get that. How do we get out of something we don't like? And that's what's forcing you to jump into real estate and really learning it and trying to, you know, navigate through that. And I know, Jen, you were the same boat. I was the same boat. We're all in that same boat.
yeah,
I always
tough
say
times
to my
for
kids,
grow, right? So
I always say to my kids, you have to work for a bad boss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To understand.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's, you know, one of the greatest, I would say it's one of the greatest lessons you can have. You know, you work for a bad boss and, you know, it truly understands what, you know, what you would do differently. And and, you know, hopefully though, you got to turn that around and use that as a positive spin, right? To say like, you know, this is, you know, I want something better. I want to do something else. You know, if I'm ever in that position, you know, I'm not going to be like that kind of person. So,
yeah. For sure. No, and you're right, Mike. A bad boss or a crappy job, those are sometimes blessings, because, and we tell our kids this all the time, it's okay to sometimes not know what you want, but you'll learn more figuring out what you don't want sometimes. Yeah. And that's exactly what a crappy job and a bad boss will show you. And it's exactly what you don't want, or what you don't want to be or be around, or any of those kinds of things. And then, like Josh was saying, to kind of go back a little bit, that motivates you. Okay, how do I get out? How do I get out? And that kind of effort level doesn't usually happen unless you really, really, really want to do something different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right on. So I just kind of want to veer off course a little bit, because Josh said something right at the beginning. I wrote it down and I wanted to kind of come back to it. So when you guys were discussing your roles, and John, you're the construction, hands-on project management piece, and Josh, you're the realtor. So you source the deals and you find the investors. So you said find the investors. Do you guys use investor money? Like, are you going into private money deals, or like, do you finance your own stuff? It was just, and if it's not something you want to talk about, that again is okay. But I found that super interesting, because that kind of ties into what we all do as investors as well.
For sure. So yeah, what we're doing now, I mean, especially with, you know, we self-funded our first few deals, but especially with me leaving my mining job now, like, banks don't like new realtors.
100%.
Right. They're not giving me a mortgage for a little while. So we have, you know, and we want to scale up quickly. Like, we're looking kind of everything we do with our business, like same thing with why we're trying to build a team of contractors, things like that. Like, we're always kind of looking at things like, what does this task look like when we have 100 units?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not, okay, we want to buy a couple more houses. Like, you know, we're in our 20s, like, we've got years to go at this. It's like, and we want to scale it up. So we know we're only going to get so far without working with investors. So what we're setting up right now the deal that we're doing right now is our first deal with a joint venture partner. So we have a money partner on it. They're funding everything, and we're doing the whole project. So basically, we are setting up our systems so that basically I will, be working actively with investors and I mean, all of my realtor career, I'm working as focusing at working with investors. So, I'll find people who are interested in investing in real estate. Like, what we're trying to do is basically create passive real estate investing for people. So people that have money but don't know how to, or don't want to do the work of investing in real estate, basically get that connection, and we figure out, what you're looking for, how much capital you're looking to invest, and then I match the investor to the property. We find a property that's going to work, that's going to meet their investment criteria, get the deal closed, line them up with our financing partners, lenders, everything to get the deal done. And then once the deal is done and, focusing on BRRRR projects, I would then hand it off to John to manage that project. And then once the project is done, we refinance it, return as much of the initial capital to the investor as possible. And then we own it under a, joint venture ownership.
And Jen, and we as well, using other people's money is a very big thing and they're very much advertised in the industry, right? And anything that you see, it's like, scale hard, other people's money. And obviously we all do that. But then people reach out to Jen and myself and Mike and Steff, and it's like, well, can you just introduce us to somebody? Like, isn't this how it works? And it's like, so as your first joint venture, how difficult was it? Was it work to get a joint venture, and how did that look like?
So our first one ended up being like a family member that we knew that was interested, right? So like kind of a distant family member that, not distant, but just someone that had money that was interested. So I mean, that's obviously a really good place to start, is just most people know people with a bit of money there that are able to put some money into real estate, right? So that's kind of how we got started. And that's kind of a perfect way to get started, because you want to start with someone and start getting things set up, and run into the roadblocks with someone that already has that built-in kind of trust with you, right? So look in your close sphere of people, of family and friends that know you, that might be interested in investing with you. Is kind of my recommended way to get started. And then obviously once you get your systems built up a little bit and get a bit more experience, then just start, taking on outside investors.
Yep. And it usually grows to that, right? Steff's our investor money finder, and he's been the most successful between the two of us. But yeah, he'll and we joke about this all the time, but he'll go to walk the dog and he'll come home and go, did you know we have a neighbor who I think could be interested in a little bit of OPM? And I could never do that. That's not and I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at. And I couldn't find OPM walking the dog, but he sure can.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I'll walk the dog for a 10-minute walk and I'll come back 2 hours later. Yeah. And I actually met one of our neighbors that's actually moved here from New Brunswick, that lives, they used to live like streets away from 2 properties that we bought in New Brunswick. It's hilarious.
Oh, wow. Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, there's lots of people out there who have a lot of money sitting in RRSPs and mutual funds that are giving them pretty unexciting returns.
Yep. Exactly.
When you present them the offer that, hey, we can probably make you a better return than that. And lots of people are interested in investing in real estate, but as you know, it is not a passive investment, right? Yeah. Especially when you're getting started. Like, it's not and most people are scared of, the toilet clogged calls at 2 a.m. and whatever, right? Which, isn't
or the
actually that common
stories.
Right.
Yeah.
And we've all had those too, right? Yeah. We've all had the plug toilets. We've all had crappy tenants. We all have our nightmare landlord tenant board stories, right? Especially if you're investing in Ontario. Yeah. You know what? But it's willing to kind of look past that and leave that behind, and how can we kind of grow from that? And sure. you're gonna have days like that. Like, we're in 4 or 5 different markets now, and there's always a crappy tenant somewhere. But you know what? Now, for the most part, it's a property management problem. And if it becomes a bigger issue, we hear about it. But other than that, like really, we're to the point now where I don't want that phone call. If tenant number 1 doesn't like tenant number 4, I don't care. Like
Exactly.
they can fix that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's and when people find out that they can do that and someone can help them do that and own real estate without them having to figure it all out, and they don't have to be scared because they have a professional that knows what they're doing taking care of it for them, then it's a pretty easy sell. I find a lot of the time people are
Absolutely. And that's how we've used our investor money. That's how Mike and Leanne have used their investor money, is you make it really seamless and you make it very passive. And really, you can almost always offer significantly more interest than what the bank is going to give them in a savings account or in a mutual fund or in a stock or whatever, without the risk. And so many people, and I see them a lot in as a realtor. Josh, you now do too, and Mike and Leanne are mortgage folks, so they see it too. There's a ton of people that want to be involved in real estate and either don't know how, or they don't have time, or desire. They're uninterested in the risk and the responsibility piece. So guess what? Call us. We're happy to, plug your numbers into a deal and see what we can do. And for us, it's worked out well so far. And I know Mike and Leanne are the same. So why not keep going with that?
You think finding investor money is going to be the hardest part. And then as soon as you start talking to people and start getting yourself set up a little bit, like you realize that's not really the hardest part at all. It's, finding the right good deals and then executing them and being set up well enough to execute the deals, because you can quickly turn a really good deal into a bad one if you're not executing them properly.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And like you said, right, you plan that exit strategy and you look at how are we going to get out, and things will likely go wrong, and how can we risk manage those. And once you go, and what we've found, and I know we've talked with Mike and Leanne about this many times, the more you go and each time you buy something new and you have another property in your portfolio, it lends more credibility.
Yeah.
Right. And then all of a sudden you're now like, people are coming to you going, I heard you do this. Like, could you take my money? Could you do something for me? And it's like, of course, let's take a look at what's going on. And it's to the point now we have the conversation that, okay, so we risk manage the best we can, but do things go wrong? Of course they do, right? Could appraisals come in low? They do, and they have. Yep. And right, could the market switch and all of a sudden there's no value growth like you anticipated? All of those things happen in every market all the time, right? It's just a big cycle. And how do we risk manage that? Well, and that was a conversation on our last OPM deal, was what if the deal goes wrong and you can't refinance, or your appraisal doesn't come in higher? What does that look like? And now we have enough going on in other places that if that one property doesn't do what we're pretty sure it's going to do, we can pull from other places. Mm-hmm. Right. And that comes as you grow, and that comes as you get bigger and you scale. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't matter if that property doesn't perform the way you want it to. It will eventually. Maybe it's going to take you an extra 6 months or a year or a year and a half or whatever your refinance cycle looks like. But in the meantime, you've got all these other great things kind of clicking along in the background that can be used as leverage if you need them to be.
Yeah.
I think that's a good key point that you said, Jen, that your exit strategy is the most difficult part. Mm-hmm. And we've seen it in the mortgage side of it. And we just had a discussion with our mortgage group of not our clients, but somebody else's client bought out in New Brunswick with private money. And their exit strategy was solely to refi and get out. And it was 100% OPM. They did not look, to a mortgage agent ahead of time to see what kind of position, because just like you said, Josh, I'm self-employed now. Lenders don't want me.
Yeah.
That person was in the same situation. And because of that, the income just wasn't there. There's no A or B lenders that will look at them. So now what do they have? They're stuck.
They're private.
And the private said, I want out. Mm-hmm. So now what? Right?
Yep.
Sell the building. So I think a lot of people think we're great. OPM, jump in. You have to have more than one exit strategy. You have to.
Yeah.
Sure. And there's also the kind of, there's a lot of people that push the you can invest in real estate all with other people's money and stuff like that. But you need to have some of your own cash too. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? To get to make the deals happen, to do that stuff. And that's, the thing we're finding very quickly is we're like, okay, well, we'll just, start getting a bunch of joint venture partners, and we're like, it's fine. We don't, we're using other people's money, but it's like, well, no, you need, and like, so that's why we're looking at right now where, obviously I'm trying to build up, really focus on just building up my realtor business so that I have cash coming in from that.
Yep.
For capital to use to make our deals happen. And then same thing with John, we're looking at other ways to build cash flow on his side, just so that we can build up that cash for both of us to make the deals happen. Because, even if you have an investor putting up, even if you're doing a joint venture partnership where you're splitting the deal and the investor's putting up all the money, you still need your own cash to make the deal happen.
Mm-hmm.
You still need your own cash at times to make stuff happen, to whatever, and run the business. So
yeah. Well, and for whatever, right? Whether you're cash flow short and you need to pay closing costs or a lawyer, or like, and that kind of stuff comes up all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Or, something happens to the property, and if you're 50-50 ownership, you're both supposed to cough up 50-50.
Yep.
To if something big happens, like I just had to spend over 10 grand blue skinning the back of one of my rentals because it flooded in the spring. And if that happens and you don't have enough of a cash reserve on hand from the rent incomes, then you're going to need to be able to cough up some cash. So, yeah.
And it's true, being self-employed, like you are, Josh, like I am, like Leanne is, you know what I mean? We rely on the 9-to-5 partners, and even that will only carry so far in financing, because eventually the banks are going to say enough. You know what I mean? Like, we can't go any further. You can't squeeze any more out. Yeah. And there needs to kind of be that balance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right on.
What has been a key to your success? Is it, a single item or a few of them?
A few, I'd say.
We learned pretty quickly. Working with a mentor really helps things out. Josh has a good mentor with his Realty team at Royal LePage, and we've been working with an investor mentor to help us just get the structure set up before we get the foundation set up before we put the rest of the structure together.
Sometimes when you start out, you feel like you got to figure everything out yourself, right?
Yeah.
And then you suddenly start to grow a whole lot quicker when you're just like, well, a lot of people have already figured this out, and you can either find them and work with them or pay someone to help you and teach you and get it all figured out way faster than trying to figure it out.
Yeah. There's work smart, not hard.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We always talk about that all as well. And we've discussed it on the podcast several times before. Surrounding yourself with people that are smarter than you rather than try to figure it out yourself. So, and that comes with building your team, building your all your contractor base and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Lean on the experts. And then also just like key to success is just like do the work. Like, it's going to be a lot of work. You're going to have to make sacrifices to make it work. And you just got to do whatever, like, you got to be willing to do whatever it takes. Starting a business is never going to be easy. You got to be willing to do whatever it takes to make it work.
No, and the line is never straight, right? It's not a linear journey. You're not just going from point A to point B. You're kind of a little bit all over the place.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Okay, next question. Is there anything on your real estate journey you would change from
or have changed so far?
Yeah.
I know you guys are still pretty fresh. But
I would say
like you've had some great learning already.
I would say we just started out doing most things ourselves, which we talked about earlier. It's taught us a lot of good lessons, but at the same time, we could likely be a few more properties in if we had just hired it out and got those projects done sooner. So everything's a learning experience. We're not gonna say we wish we changed anything, or I don't regret anything that I've done. Everything's a learning experience. So I think if anything, it would have been working with just like you said, Steff, you surround yourself with smarter people. You hire the experts to help you along the way. So that definitely would have helped us move forward quicker.
Yeah, just take on some, start working with the professionals a little sooner.
Yeah,
right on.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're gonna jump into the lightning round. So we're just going to pepper you with some questions. We're just looking for some quick answers. Whatever jumps in your head first.
Okay.
Okay, first one. What are 3 things you can't live without?
Surround yourself with good people. So family, friends. You always need downtime. If you don't get any downtime, you burn out.
Yep.
So need to maintain your hobbies that you enjoy. You got anything?
100% family, friends. I love to travel, like high priority for me, which I haven't done too much of this year, but yeah, I love traveling. And then food.
Amazing.
Oh boy.
I was waiting for you to slip in beer or wine.
And wine. Yeah, food and
there you
wine.
go.
Yeah, we got a tongue for wine. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. I think maybe that's a Northern Ontario thing. I could drink
That's
wine all
the
day long.
Italian in us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so if you could go back in time, and I know that John kind of touched on this the last question, but is there anything you would change about your journey? Or you're just, I think you guys do a really great job of just kind of appreciating the journey for what it is, right? And even on the stuff that doesn't go amazing, that you kind of try to grab whatever the lesson is and roll with it and grow it into something better next time. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, same things we already talked about, I'd say, is just, like the hiring people sooner, looking back, being like, hey, I wish I started as a realtor 8 years ago instead of going to university. But at the same time, you never know how things would have turned out if you changed that 7 years ago or something. Yeah. So, yeah.
Sure enough.
Appreciate it for the lesson that it is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Some days we appreciate stuff all day long, right? Because everybody knows there's days like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Question number 3. Choose one, only one. 100 doors or $1 million?
100 doors.
John?
Probably $1 million. You turn that into a lot of cash.
Yeah.
Or a lot of
I feel like it'd be hard to buy 100 doors for $1 million, so I'm gonna go the 100 doors.
Yeah.
We've had this question before, and people have said, but do your 100 doors cash flow? And I say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. It kind of depends on the quality of the door.
Yeah. If you could invest anywhere with no strings attached, where would it be? You talked about traveling, so kind of maybe a
vineyard in Italy, maybe.
Yeah, we have a dream of one day buying a vineyard somewhere.
Oh.
If all goes well, and one day we've got the money to do it, the retirement passion project would be to buy a vineyard somewhere, maybe California or Italy. But we have discussed, we have discussed wanting to one day, obviously we're trying to get our systems figured out and get things sorted in Thunder Bay, but we do want to expand out of Thunder Bay, fairly soon when we feel like the time is right.
Yep.
But we've also discussed it'd be fun to own some Airbnbs in places that we like to visit. So BC, California, things like that, own a couple houses in places where we Airbnb it out and we just have a place that we know we can go
anytime,
whenever we want, and it's there. And it makes us money the rest of the time.
When you're not there.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Is it my turn?
I think it's my turn.
Oh, okay.
What is the best thing about working with your brother?
There's good and bad, yeah.
I mean,
that's a loaded question.
Yeah. I mean, there's no one closer, right? I grew up with him.
Yeah.
There's no one I can trust more, really. And know that he's got my back and I've got his back. So
we grew up making fun of each other, and we can still do that and still make some progress on the business. So
I bet.
We live just down the street from each other too, so it's quite convenient.
Oh, that is nice. Okay. So on the flip side, what's the worst thing about working with your brother?
Knowing bad habits of the other person.
Yeah.
That's right. All the skeletons in the closets, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I bet.
No, honestly, it's way more good than bad.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you can tell. I mean, you guys, it's very easy to see that you're comfortable with each other and you're very complimentary to each other. And it's easy to see that you work well together, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't wait to see what the team's going to look like when brother number 3 shows up.
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh, we're totally having you guys back on the podcast
Oh,
for that one for
absolutely.
sure.
We got a
Absolutely.
big age gap between us. So it's like he's 4 years younger than me, and then our youngest brother's 4 years younger than him. So
3 years.
there's some time to bring everything along, and
Yep.
yeah, that's why. But we'll get there.
Yep. No, for sure.
Excellent.
Okay. So where are you 10 years from now?
10 years from now, I think we'd like to be expanded outside of the Thunder Bay market. Like we said, that's a goal we're working on as quick as we can get to. We're 10 years from now, we're hoping to have our renovation business set up with our little brother having his carpentry apprenticeship done, and just as another cash flowing business, but also just to vertically integrate the process. It'll be really good to have full control of that aspect of the work.
Yeah, I'd like to really be, we're doing residential right now, and the small multifamilies and stuff. But 10 years from now, we see some pretty big projects happening around our Thunder Bay right now. There's like an old historical building that unfortunately actually burned down while it was getting renovated, but they're building a big 42 unit development.
Wow.
And there's some other bigger older buildings being developed with commercial spaces and converting to apartment units and things like that. And the thing we enjoy most about real estate investing is taking an old building and making it into something new and cool. Even though I'm on the realtor side, that's still my favorite part about real estate investing is walking into an old house and being I know what I can turn this into. I know what this looks like when it's done. So we'd really like to be able to, kind of what we want to do is build up a portfolio, a stable portfolio that gets kind of mostly paid off, that gives us that, stable monthly cash flow, but that can then allow us to, have that to support doing bigger, cool projects that are we find really fun. So yeah,
Great.
Good. What last question? So to wind it up, what's the perfect summer vacation?
Italy.
I hear it's hot there in the summer.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Anywhere on my mountain bike, I think that's
Right on.
that's ideal. Yeah.
Yeah, we both like mountain biking, so the trip to BC would be sweet. We did a family. We have some family in Italy, and we went on a big trip there a couple of years ago, and just haven't gotten to go back since COVID, and just want to go back. Fell in love with it when we were there. So yeah.
Well, I have no doubts that you'll be there sooner than you think. For
Yeah,
sure.
sure. Yeah.
Definitely.
Something more adventurous than just a beach vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So
Right
good.
on.
So just want to, thank you guys today for, giving us your time. I'm sure your story is going to inspire a lot of people, being 29 and 25 and, kind of realizing early on that, the 9-to-5 life wasn't for you guys. And, you had bigger dreams, right? It's so important for people to follow that. So I always say, I really want to thank you guys for keeping it real. And, we appreciate you guys coming on and telling your story. And I think like Jen and Steff said, we'd be really excited to keep in touch and follow your progress and, have you guys back, 6 months, a year or, 2 years. And hopefully you'll invite us to the vineyard when,
yeah, we'll call that a 20-year goal maybe, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so and I'm just going to say, because we have a really great close-knit community of investors who kind of we connect with through the podcast and through conversations. And in Thunder Bay, I'm sure that you're looking for some exposure and some networking to kind of get this kind of stuff out there. Are you open to people contacting you?
Yeah.
Because we do have a lot of that go on through the podcast.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely, for sure.
How's the best way to find you?
So you can email either of us anytime. Mine's Josh at jbbrothers.ca. And John's is John at jbbrothers.ca. We have a website. It's just jbbrothers.ca. You can put in your email there, and we will be emailing stuff out at some point when we get around to that. You can just best way honestly to follow along with what we're up to is just follow us on Instagram.
Okay.
We post on Facebook a bit too, but mostly the best place would be Instagram, which is just at JB Brothers Ltd, JB Brothers Limited.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much, guys. Josh, it was wonderful to connect again and to check in and see how you're doing. It's been way too long, and I hope that we don't go that long again without checking back in with you.
For sure. We'll be staying in touch.
Absolutely. And John, lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet
You
you.
guys are a force to be reckoned with, and I can't wait to hear more about what you have going on in Thunder Bay.
Yeah,
So,
thanks guys very much. It's been awesome chatting. I really appreciate you guys having us on.
Yeah, anytime, guys. Okay, so enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll connect again soon. And thanks to everybody who watched today, and we'll be back with another new episode soon.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks.